With the release of Overwatch 2, players once again get to choose from a lot of unique and interesting heroes. But when we dig into their lore and backgrounds, who comes out as the most noble and who is downright evil? Hey guys, I'm Brad with One Up Binge, and this is Overwatch 2 Characters, Good to Evil. As usual, we'll be starting with our most heroic character and working our way down to the most evil. These characters are the good. Taking our gold medal of good once again is Zenyatta. Zenyatta is a wandering Omnic monk who helps people while he searches for spiritual enlightenment. He was created before the Omnic crisis. However, he was not one of the Omnics who rose up. It's unknown what he did prior to the crisis, often lying to those who ask. He was at a monastery for a long time, where he protected it from those who wished to decimate it. He took in Genji and taught him how to control himself and his anger, so that he could forgive Hanzo. Zenyatta is a perfectly good character, and what we've seen of him in Overwatch 2 is not enough to move him anywhere but here. The silver medal of good goes to Angela Mercy Ziegler. Mercy is a member of the original Overwatch team, working as a combat medic during the Omnic crisis. She was among the many Overwatch members who went to do their own thing after it was dissolved, where she helped people. Much like Zenyatta, she would visit disaster areas and save those who were trapped or seriously injured. She obviously fits the angel aesthetic and is the premier healer for good reason, earning her a righteous spot on our list. Earning the bronze medal of good is Winston. Winston is the large ape that was an experiment on the moon, eventually flying down to Earth so he can help people. Upon landing on Earth, he found a new home in Overwatch, which he happily joined, making friends with the likes of Ana Amari and Jack Morrison. He even made Tracer's chronal accelerator, allowing her to stay tethered to the physical plane. Winston is known for helping those who can't help themselves. He also utilized the recall, bring the Overwatch crew back together, and allowing them to stop the uprising in Rio that we see during the events of Overwatch 2's trailer. Winston is a hero through and through. Falling a spot since the last one, next is Reinhardt Wilhelm. Reinhardt, like Mercy, was a member of the original Overwatch crew. He was the team's resident battle tank who was known for charging into battle with reckless abandon. Reinhardt was a crusader, a member of a group that worked like knights of yore and protected those who needed them. He was friends with other members of Overwatch, such as Torbjorn, so much so that Torbjorn's daughter, Brigitte, became his ward. Reinhardt has a heart of gold, and it's no surprise that he ranks so high. Next is Vivian Sojourn Chase. Sojourn was born in Canada and a member of the Canadian Special Forces prior to joining Overwatch. She constantly upgraded herself with cybernetics due to needing them from a young age, choosing her cybernetics to make sure that she was the best she could be. As a member of Overwatch, she worked hard to make sure her missions not only went well, but she made a point of bringing all of her soldiers home. She was also a strike commander for the Havana mission, where the team apprehended Maximilian. She was made acting commander after the supposed death of Jack Morrison, but after Overwatch was shut down, she didn't try anything to stop it, laying low in Canada until Null Sector attacked. Now we have Mei Ling Zhou. Mei was a climatologist who was working at the Overwatch Eco Point in Antarctica, where she ended up falling into a deep cyrosleep for many years, being the only one to survive. Mei was well known and tried her best to be helpful to Overwatch and anyone else that needed said help. Mei was also one of the members of the Overwatch crew that went up against Null Sector in Paris in the Overwatch 2 trailer, where she helped Tracer and Winston deal with the Omnics. Mei is a good person at heart, even if people hate her in the game. Next is Echo. Echo is actually a machine created by Dr. Mina Lau and Overwatch to help in missions. She was planned as an adaptive robot that could transform into any respective niche on a battlefield. She had to be taken down a few pegs to abide by the rules placed on Overwatch. She performed well on the battlefield, but the leadership was still reluctant. She actually had a very strong artificial intelligence that adapted most of Dr. Lau's personality traits and speech patterns, actually becoming a sort of clone, which really strived after her death. She was also one of the members, alongside Mercy, to go against Null Sector in Paris so they can help Winston. Echo doesn't have all of Lau's accomplishments, which is what stops her from moving upwards, but she's still a very good person. Now we have Lena Tracer Oxton. Lena was a hero from London who joined the Royal Air Force, but after having a major incident, she was left lost in time. After getting a chronal accelerator, she was able to stay in the current time and became a very important member of Overwatch. Tracer was initially a cadet and was part of the London Uprising mission when Null Sector attacked, and after that helped lead the Storm Rising mission to capture Maximilian. Tracer feels very strongly about Overwatch, and was among those that stopped Talon from taking the Doomfist. She attempted to stop the assassination of Mondada, but failed, and when Null Sector attacked Paris, she was among those that helped stop it. Moving up from the gray area is Torbjorn Lindholm. Torbjorn was a highly important member of Overwatch, a skilled engineer, and a major player in Overwatch's war with Null Sector. In fact, Torbjorn does fall a bit because he's shown to be racist towards Omnics, finding them unable to have any sort of moral compass, instead working only on logic. However, this changed as he got older. While he worked with Overwatch, he helped push back Null Sector often. By the time Overwatch had disbanded, he had softened to a degree. This includes not only repairing, but making good friends with Bastion, which shows that you can teach an old dog new tricks. Torbjorn's daughter, Brigitte, is next. Brigitte is the youngest member of Torbjorn and Ingrid Lindholm. She's a skilled engineer and the traveling companion of Reinhardt. Brigitte traveled with Reinhardt for a while, dealing with many issues such as the gang known as the Dragons, and then was among the heroes of Zero Hour when Null Sector attacked Paris. Brigitte and Reinhardt ended up joining the newest Overwatch crew, which, despite her objections, Brigitte seems to like enough to stay in. Next is Hammond, aka Wrecking Ball. Hammond was a test subject alongside Winston on the Horizon lunar colony on the moon. He became intensely smart and started planning to escape the colony, which Winston hijacked. He landed in Australia outside Junkertown, where the Junkers lived. He became a master of combat in the areas in Junkertown and became their hero, which is where we last saw him. As of Overwatch 2, we don't know what he's up to, we just know he's around. Next is Jack, Soldier 76, Morrison. Soldier is one of the most well-known characters from the series, even being sort of a starter character for most to pick up. He was one of the most important members of Overwatch long ago, being the strike commander and good friends with Gabriel Reyes, Sojourn, and others. Morrison was the leader of many strikes against Null Sector and Talon, protecting the innocent and helping those in need. However, after the death of Overwatch and the destruction of the main Overwatch base, Soldier was assumed dead. This, however, led to him to take the law into his own hands, becoming a vigilante that, despite how cynical he became, still helped people. Morrison runs from the law, and normally we might call that a bad thing, but his extra lawful vigilantism is a net good in our eyes. Now we have Hannah Diva Song. Diva is a Korean superstar, originally an esports gamer that was enlisted to pilot one of the experimental mecha machines. She was amazing at this, able to prove that she's an amazing pilot for the Korean army. She is an idol for those in South Korea, being the face of mecha and even a movie star to some degree. Diva is a little egotistical, but she's earned that for good reason. She's done a lot in her short time. This is obvious during Shooting Star, where she nearly sacrifices herself to destroy attacking Omnics. She definitely deserves her spot. Rounding out the good section is Genji. Genji is the younger of the two Shimada brothers. The Shimadas were a clan of powerful people in Japan who were grooming Hanzo to become the next leader. After the death of his father, Genji and Hanzo had a scrap that ended in Genji's serious injuries and supposed death. He was enhanced with cybernetic abilities and became a member of Overwatch's Black Ops crew, Blackwatch. He eventually came across Zenyatta and became his student, getting in touch with his cybernetics and forgiving his brother Hanzo. Genji was also among the Overwatch members such as Mercy, Echo, and Reinhardt to deal with Null Sector in Paris, albeit showing up late. Genji is a man of hard values, and he respects not only those who have harmed him, but those he calls friends. Alright, now it's time for the gray area. Starting off the gray area is Faria Farah Amari. Farah is a woman who feels strongly about her duty and honor, much like her mother, Ana. She became a soldier not only for Overwatch, but for the Egyptian army, where she proved a massive threat to the enemies of Egypt. She has little love for her mother, especially after she disappeared. She was then one of the premier members of Overwatch, familial with the likes of Cole Cassidy and Mercy. Farah mourned Overwatch's passing and decided to use the army so that she can continue the good fight. She fought with Null Sector and Talon on multiple occasions and was one of the agents recalled. However, she didn't really go back to Overwatch at first and decided to focus on helping her own country. Farah is not that bad, but she's made some decisions that limits her ability to rank higher. Next is Bastion. Bastion is a reprogrammed siege automation that was originally created by SST Laboratories. Bastion was among many Omnics that revolted. However, he was left in a forest and deactivated for a short time. When he awoke, he was still programmed for battle until the bird Ganymede helped him learn about the forest and its life. He became a protectionist, wanting to protect life at all cost, which causes a run-in with Torbjorn that ends up with the two becoming begrudging friends and allies. Bastion doesn't appear in Overwatch 2 cinematics as of yet, and at the time of writing, he's been removed from the game for fixes, so it's like he doesn't exist. But still having those killing urges and programming does stop him from ranking in the good section. Next is Brazilian freedom fighter Lucio Correa dos Santos. Lucio was born in Rio de Janeiro poor. As he grew up, he became interested in music and even became a DJ. Lucio became a freedom fighter, going up against many companies that decided to encroach upon his home, and he didn't like that. He ended up stealing experimental sonic technology created by the Vishkar Corporation and used it against them. Despite this, he still joined Overwatch and was in Rio when it was attacked by Null Sector, fighting with Overwatch to kick them out. Lucio is a thief, but he did it for the greater good, and he's brought forth enough good that it sort of cancels out. Now we have Orisa. Orisa was originally an OR-15 droid made to defend Numbani. However, when Doomfist attacked, she was one of the droids damaged. This led Ify Oladelli finding and repairing her, making them into the Orisa we know and love today. Now that Orisa was repaired, she was taught civics and tried to help those around her. However, at first, she caused much more destruction than she helped. This also led to her being taught combat skills, despite her not wanting to fight dirty. However, it seems like she has some sort of trauma related to Doomfist, as she nearly killed a child dressed up as Doomfist. However, she was reactivated, and alongside Ify, repelled Doomfist from Numbani. She became a national hero, and she's really not all that bad, but she still needs to be taught quite a bit in terms of values. Next is Ana Amari. Ana was one of the original Overwatch members, alongside Jack Morrison and Gabriel Reyes, and she was a massively important part of the team. She was from Egypt and joined Overwatch so that she can help her country and her people. After Overwatch was disbanded, she ended up as a vigilante, much like Morrison. She had taken up many names as a vigilante, both Shrike and Bastet. She lost plenty during her time as a soldier, her eye, her family, and almost lost her life. However, Ana still cares for Overwatch, her family, and the people she loves, patching up Morrison's wounds despite their falling out, and working with Cassidy and Pharah despite their shared dislike. Ana's a good person, but going outside of the law, abandoning your children, and not caring about the consequences of your actions caused her to fall here. Now we have Cole Cassidy. Cole Cassidy, once named Jesse McCree, is an outlaw and cowboy who's been roaming around the world of Overwatch for some time. Cassidy was alongside Genji and Gabriel Reyes in Blackwatch, doing the jobs that Overwatch won't do in the daylight. Prior to that, he was in the criminal Deadlock gang alongside Ash, where they did many things such as heist. After being caught, Gabriel saw enough good in Cassidy for him to join Blackwatch. After Blackwatch was disbanded, he was put on suspension. However, he was welcomed back and became Dr. Mina Lau's bodyguard and confidant. He was aware of the capabilities Echo has and became quite attached to the project. This got to the point where, after the recall, Cassidy refused to go back. Instead, he obtained Echo from the Deadlock gang and sent her back, directly leading to her help in Paris. Cassidy thinks he's too bad of a guy to rejoin Overwatch, and we have to disagree. Next is Hanzo Shimada. Hanzo is the older brother of Genji and the eventual patriarch of the Shimada family. He grew up trained to be the leader of the family once his father passed, and once he did, he was convinced to have Genji become a much better member of the family. They had a scuffle, and Genji supposedly died. Hanzo led his family for a short time, but ended up dropping from the family, going on to do his own thing. He eventually came face to face with his past in the form of Genji, who popped up randomly in Japan once more. They dueled, but Hanzo lost, and after learning the truth, continued his tradition of honoring his brother. Hanzo doesn't appear again after the Dragon cinematic, so, as it stands, he can't rank anywhere else on our list. Now we have Kiriko Komori. Her family, the Yamagami family, has protected Kanzanaka for centuries, so much so that her family was also good friends with the Shimadas. She grew up training under her mother's tutelage, alongside the Shimada brothers, Hanzo and Genji. She will do anything to protect her family and city, utilizing her many abilities to do so. Kiriko joined a clan known as the Yokai, which are trying to stop the encroaching Hashimoto clan. Kiriko is someone who cares deeply about her family, friends, and city, and will do anything to save them. Kiriko lands so low because she does operate outside the law and threatens murder on multiple occasions, but her appearance is still young, so who knows where she'll go from there. Next is a member of Talon, Jean-Baptiste Augusta, often referred to as just Baptiste. He grew up as an orphan due to the Omnic Crisis, where he looked up to Overwatch. However, lacking the ability to join Overwatch, he instead joined the military, specifically the Caribbean Coalition, and when Overwatch failed him, he turned to Talon. He worked as a combat medic, helping Talon on their many missions. However, while he was committing these many crimes, he didn't particularly enjoy it and tried to leave at the first opportunity. He has enough of a moral compass to realize how bad Talon was, and he even got his wish because he eventually managed to join the Overwatch group alongside Cassian and Pharah when it was reformed. Baptiste is a good guy for the most part. He was just brought into a bad place at a bad time. Next is Zarya. Zarya is one of the world's strongest women and a celebrated athlete who joined the Russian Defense Force to protect her homeland. Zarya has one major drawback, where she's highly racist towards Omnics. However, like Torbjorn, she starts to warm up after a mission, including one she grew close with. Zarya is very happy to serve her country, more so than Overwatch, and this nationalistic attitude can be a drawback for some. Zarya is not a bad person, she just ranks low because she isn't that good of a person either. Now we have Satya Symmetra Vaswani. Symmetra is a woman who grew up in India in extreme poverty, which led her to eventually be found by the Vishkar Corporation. Symmetra is one of the few people able to manipulate hard light well, able to become a very powerful hard light architect. She was sent across the world by Vishkar, which encroached on territory to make it better, but in all reality, was just taking resources and protecting their corporate interest. She became little more than an arm of a company that was destroying things. However, she isn't all bad. She did help Zenyatta and his temple after the destruction that it fell under. Finishing the gray area, we have Sigma. Dr. Culper was once a genius scientist and doctor who started to lose his sanity after an experiment went wrong. This led to him being contained under the name Subject Sigma, with many gravitational happenings around him that led him further down the rabbit hole. After being subjected to this, he was then freed and essentially kidnapped by Talon, trying to utilize his abilities to further their plans. Sure, they helped him control his powers, but they still manipulated him so that he could help with their many evil plans. Sigma is mentally damaged and mostly manipulated, which stops him from falling further, but he doesn't escape the consequences of his actions. Now we go down to the worst. These are the bad to evil. Starting off the bad to evil section is the Widowmaker. Widowmaker was once known as Amélie Guillard, a popular ballet dancer in Paris. She eventually met Gerard Lacroix, and the two got married. Gerard was a member of Overwatch, and their mortal enemies, Talon, utilized this to their advantage. They kidnapped and brainwashed Amélie until she became the Widowmaker. She's a trained and skilled assassin, able to hit massively difficult shots, like assassinating Mandata by trying to shoot through Tracer or shooting out of one of Ana's eyes. Widowmaker is a threat to be reckoned with and has committed heinous crimes. However, due to the brainwashing, we really can't place her any lower. Now we have Mako Roadhog Rutledge. Roadhog is a mountain of a man who has spent most of his life in Australia, which became a barren wasteland. Roadhog is among the Junkers who lived in Junkertown, having to utilize special hydrogen inhalers to survive. Roadhog was part of a militia that committed what were essentially hate crimes towards the Omnic population, after the government gave Australia to Omnics after what had happened. However, while usually this would be terrible, it makes sense to him because they are supposedly the ones behind the destruction in Australia. However, he's still racist towards Omnics like most other Junkers are, and after being kicked out of Junkertown, he joined Junkrat as a criminal. He has a massive bounty on his head and is among some of the most wanted people on Earth. However, due to their crimes mostly being robbery, he doesn't fall much further. Next is Odessa Junker Queen Stone. Queen is the final new Overwatch 2 hero in the game, being a character highly requested and theorized to join for a long time. She's the queen of Junkertown and a massive threat, despising both Roadhog and Junkrat, but mostly Junkrat. She's highly prejudiced towards Omnics, banning them from ever entering Junkertown, and acts like a dictatorial monarch. When she was young, she was banished from Junkertown by the king, Mason Howl. Losing her father and some of her siblings, she came back and dethroned him. She's a better queen than he was king, but this still led to her acting much like a dictator, even banishing Junkrat and Roadhog, much like she was banished. Some in-game dialogue shows she doesn't even realize that Junkertown had an education system, and while she loves her gladiators, she rules with an iron fist. However, she's still not the worst Junker on our list. Now we have Jameson Junkrat Fox. Fox, better known as Junkrat, is the most well-known Junker. Coming from a once rich family, he was now among those in Junkertown. However, he was a thief, con man, and general nuisance, causing more than his fair share of problems. This led to his banishment and the subsequent crime spree with Roadhog. He's committed crimes ranging from bank robbery to evading police, and is one of the most wanted men in the world. Junkrat is highly intelligent, at least in the way of how to con people out of money. Junkrat is one of the best examples of a bad guy on this list. He only doesn't fall lower because while his crimes are bad, they are outclassed. Next is Elizabeth Caledonia Ash, aka Calamity Ash, often just called Ash. She's the leader and founder of the Deadlock Gang, alongside her butler, Bob, and Cole Cassidy. Ash grew up in a rich family, but she felt bored because of it. She met Cassidy, and they started doing heists and other crimes together, and they worked quite well. However, after Cassidy left, she continued her crimes and started to hate Cassidy for his supposed betrayal. She cares for her crew, but she berates them often. She's only this high because she has an obvious moral compass. She follows a set of rules and enforces the gang to do the same. Ash is not a good person, but at the very least, she's not the worst. Now we have Olivia Sombra Colomar. Sombra is one of the world's best hackers, being a massive threat, even so much so that Doomfist calls her one of the world's best operatives. She loves solving mysteries and breaking locks, and is a major member of Talon. In this group, she's committed heinous crimes and helped with the murder and destruction of people and places Talon wants done. Sombra seems to understand that all this is bad and seems to enjoy it based on the way she acts and things she says. She'll even hack Cassidy's browsing history just for fun, so she can see what Overwatch is up to. Sombra falls short of being called pure evil because she at least has a moral compass. The Bronze Medal of Evil goes to Gabriel Reaper Reyes. Reaper is a major member of Talon and one of the Inner Circle. However, he didn't start this way. Gabriel was once a member of Overwatch, specifically the leader of the Black Ops branch, Blackwatch. He was good friends with Jack Morrison and helped Overwatch do many good things. However, after being experimented on by Moira, he started to become the Reaper we all know and love today. Reaper is essentially a genocidal maniac that will murder anyone he pleases. This is obvious to anyone who's seen what he does. He's also the leader of most infield Talon missions, and he loves it. He only grabs bronze because despite the atrocities, it doesn't fully erase all the good he did. The Silver Medal of Evil goes to Moira O'Dearin. Moira was a geneticist that was obsessed with human evolution, trying to force it. She hated Overwatch, feeling it stifled scientific evolution, especially hers. She is said to have very flexible morals, helping those that will best help her. This led to her experimenting on Gabriel Reyes and joining Talon, where she's one of the members of the Inner Circle. Moira helps make decisions and will do anything to continue her research, even harming people. Moira cares little for the lives of her test subjects or her colleagues, only her own life. The Gold Medal of Evil goes to Akande Doomfist Ogundimu. Doomfist is technically the third holder of the immortal Golden Gauntlet, called the Doomfist. He doesn't care much for human life, and this is due to a bad childhood and upbringing. He's done horrendous things, murdered hundreds, injured thousands, and nearly killing Tracer. He doesn't care about people, and will do anything to further his own goals. This is obvious as a member of Talon's Inner Circle, and even seemingly leading it. Doomfist's leadership has caused unknown destruction, and even though he's been jailed once, it's not enough for him. Doomfist is the worst, and he's stayed that way since the last one. Alright guys, that's it. Let us know in the comments section who your favorite Overwatch 2 character is. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters and your favorite games. But most importantly, stay wicked.